I come from a place
Thank you so much. Yeah.
that is named for its historical courage, Liberty County, Georgia. It was named for liberty in 1777 because it was home to Lyman Hall and Button Gwinnett, two of Georgia's three signers of the Declaration of Independence, one of the most important documents in human history. The area has been called the Southern Cradle of Liberty because the people there believed in freedom and self-determination when that was a very dangerous thing to believe. Again, much later, Liberty County played another significant role in the quest for freedom and self-determination in America, this time through the Civil Rights Movement, when it became the quiet, steady heartbeat of change that helped to transform our nation. Today, that legacy of liberty continues with Fort Stewart, the largest military installation east of the Mississippi, 280,000 acres. Now home to the U.S. Army's 3rd Infantry Division, defenders of liberty on a global scale. So from the American Revolution to the Civil Rights Movement to the United States military of today, Liberty County, Georgia has always been on the front lines of the fight for freedom here and around the world. Only there was one part of this story I didn't know. I passed this building, this impressive building, my entire life. And it's no ordinary building in the small, once mostly rural county where I grew up. It is a 2-story red brick Georgian revival structure standing proudly off the main highway. There are no others like it, and I must have seen it 1,000 times, but I didn't know its history or its name. Until one day, my friend Dr. Bertice Berry mentioned that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself had spent time there, that this place had been the secret location where the March on Birmingham was planned. That march had been one of the first pivotal events in the Civil Rights Movement. The place is Dorchester Academy, and I remember feeling two things at once. First, immense pride, but also a sad recognition. Pride because this was in my county, but sad recognition that this was a very personal example of an important history not known or taught in all circles. Truth is, when I was growing up, our schools were racially integrated, but our social lives were not. Unless you were military, you spent time with people who looked like you. My family, my closest friends were white. I didn't think much of it at the time because it was all we knew. And I didn't feel racial tension, though I now know many of my black friends felt things differently. We just never would have talked about it then. After 35 years away, I've recently returned home to my hometown to live and work, and I had the great fortune to meet Hermina Glasshill, the historian who curated the Dorchester Academy Civil Rights Museum. From her, I learned that Dorchester Academy had been home to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference's Citizenship Education Program, led by Ambassador Andrew Young, then just a 29-year-old Reverend Young. For nearly a decade, through the 1960s, Black Americans came from all over the South to learn about the United States Constitution. Some learned to read, to sign their names so they could vote. They learned how to respond when asked to perform ridiculous tasks or answer unknowable questions at the polls like, how many jelly beans are in a mason jar? They learned the principles and tactics for nonviolent response to violence. And then they left there, and they taught dozens of others, who taught hundreds of others, who taught thousands. It was grassroots, it was quiet, and it was powerful. But without these leaders, this place, and this training, many of the defining moments of the Civil Rights Movement, Birmingham, Selma, the March on Washington, might have had very different results. When I understood the magnitude of this history and realized that Ambassador Andrew Young, one of the last living architects of this movement, was already in his 90s. I couldn't shake the idea that someone had to capture his thoughts and his experience at Dorchester Academy before the opportunity was lost to us forever. I reached out to Kay Flowers Johnson, an accomplished journalist I'd long admired who was also from Liberty County. She didn't know about Dorchester Academy either, but thankfully her enthusiasm matched mine. And as fate would have it, she had the perfect connections for securing an interview with Ambassador Young, and she did. Together, with generous support from family and friends, the unwavering support of the Dorchester Improvement Association and the Liberty County Historical Society and the Liberty County Chamber and CVB, we are producing a short documentary. Together, we will premiere Dorchester Academy, A Legacy of Liberty in the fall of 2025. I've been asked a lot of questions. Why this? Why now? Why you? First, because of my deep love for this place. To shine a light on the prominent roles it's played throughout American history and to promote the very best of those ideals. Also, to honor and recognize the people of the Dorchester Academy community who have preserved this place and advanced the values of universal human dignity, education, and peace for generations. We want to hold them up as examples for us all. I have a profound respect for Black Americans, especially those who worked and organized, who spoke up and sat in, who peacefully marched and protested. They advanced the cause of civil rights forward with such incredible courage, dignity, and determination against the most unimaginable odds. And when I see images of the civil rights movement, I'm also inspired by the few white faces I see among the brown, the allies who worked and walked alongside those heroes. They didn't have to advocate for the rights of others. They didn't experience discrimination because of the color of their skin. They could vote without issue. They could live where they wanted. They could go to a bank and get a loan if they needed it, enter any restaurant and eat, any hotel and sleep, any store and buy what they needed. But they stood with those who could not. And I think we need more unity like that in this world today. I do not mean to imply that this film is anywhere near as consequential, but perhaps it's a way to lean in, put a shoulder to the task in a small way, and advance the highest values of freedom and self-determination and the highest vision for our communities. I think back to the military community I witnessed in my youth. Soldiers are trained for war, but military life seemed organized for peace. The military families I knew were the first example in my awareness of a deeply connected mixed-race community. There seemed to be no barriers based on heritage, color, or creed, and it was a beacon to me for what was possible. As I've gotten older, my friendships with my Black friends from school have deepened. Our families have dined together, traveled together, shared joy and sorrow together. I've been invited to the cookout, which my Black friends had to explain, was quite a statement of trust. I realize there is so much I did not know, and there is still so much to learn. Too often, the stories of Black communities, of grassroots leadership, of small towns that made a big difference go unseen, untold, and underappreciated. We want to do what we can now to make sure that is not the case for Dorchester Academy, because it is not just a footnote in history, it's a cornerstone. And history isn't just the past, it's the foundation for where we are today. It is what brought us here, and it holds the keys to where we will go next. Dorchester Academy is a testament to the fact that history doesn't just happen in grand speeches or on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Sometimes history happens in small rooms, in old buildings, and in the quiet resolve of people who believe in something greater than themselves. This is not just a Black story. This is American history. And we want to make sure every child that grows up in Liberty County, Georgia, knows that they come from a place where liberty lives, not just in name, but in the hearts of those who believed in it enough to risk their lives for it, and those still brave enough to carry it forward. Thank you.